Hi, this is Lydia Smith and I'm here with my colleague Michael Gifford at the headquarters of our facilities here in Cambridge. Now, this is a completely new facility. Anyone that's been to NIAB before will not have seen this. And Michael has been the person who has managed this and made it happen. So Michael, what are we going to do in this building?
So this is Barn 4, which is the newest building on NIAB's Park Farm site. It's going to be an Agri-Tech incubator. So what we're going to be doing is inviting startups and SMEs in the Agri-Tech space to locate themselves here. Top floor is all offices and meeting rooms, and the ground floor is labs and workshops with a bit of storage down the far end. It's going to be really exciting because we're going to have all sorts of companies in here doing things like plant genetics, growing various bits and pieces, and then flying their drones around and running their robots around the fields.
Here we are in the John MacLeod complex, the set of greenhouses that we have here at our headquarters site in Cambridge, and we wanted to show you some of the infrastructure that we're experimenting on that will, in the fullness of time, be used with hydroponics. This is not a hydroponic system, obviously, but we're looking at some fairly new, innovative LED systems. And it's part funded by the EU. We've got an EU Interreg 2Cs funded project, and we're looking at the potential for taking certain leafy salad crops off the field and looking at growing them in a hydroponic type of system. So we're looking at rocket, wild rocket and spinach. Graham, tell us a bit about what you've got here and what is the significance of these little black tents?
As Lydia mentioned, we're looking at a number of different crops in this glass house, and in particular we're looking at the effects of LED light spectra on plant morphology, trying to understand the relationship between the LED lighting recipes that we come up with and the ultimate parameter that a lot of farmers are interested in, yield. So we've just really got started here. These are some examples of some seedlings of garden rocket that we are growing at the moment. We are also looking at lambs, lettuce and spinach as well, but in this particular study under the tents, we are looking at rocket. We've got a number of tents here. They're enclosed with shared out curtains, simply because we don't want the ambient light that you see around us to interfere with some of the results that we get there. So we don't want to confound the experiments with wrong light spectrum. So in here, one of these tents, we can see a number of different seedlings that are just going. They're about a week old, and they really are at the early stage development. They're still getting their true leaves, and when they get the true leaves, we can then really start to see the effects of the different spectra, ranging from red to blue, on the plant growth and development.
Here we are at the Eastern Agri-Tech Innovation Hub. We're just outside of Soham, so we're a little bit away from the main Cambridge headquarters. The reason we brought you here is that we've just set up, literally, it's virtually out of its tissue paper, a hydroponic system. So again, this is part of our experiments that we're doing on the Hyperdense project. But what we want to look at is how you can potentially grow crops that you sow densely as opposed to one sort of large item like a lettuce, how you can sow crops densely in a hydroponic system. We're looking for a crop that will be sufficiently dense that you'll get a decent biomass off it in a situation where you can control all sorts of conditions. So we talked about the LED lighting earlier, but we also want to control the nutrient input, and to an extent we want to control the sort of the light and the temperature and everything else about the growing system. Also, one of the things that you have in a field-based system is that you've got the potential for contamination of your leafy vegetables with soil particles, and when you cut it, that can quite often lead to a very poor shelf life. So there's a variety of different types of hydroponics. This is a very simple one. It was put together for us by our colleagues at Saturn Bioponics. So it's a unique bespoke system set up with this kind of project in mind, and we've just got a few plants here that we're starting to use on the system, and Graham's going to tell you a bit about how the system works and why we've got it set up in the way that we have. So over to you, Graham.
There are obviously many different ways of growing leafy salad crops, and traditionally this is done in the field. However, we like to do it a different way. We're growing leafy salad crops in a very dense way indoors here. And in front of me here is one of our ebb and flood hydroponic beds. And this particular bed is very heavy. It is designed so it can be filled with water, which comes from a number of nutrient tanks situated in the far corner of the polytunnel. What this water does is it's containing nutrient solution, and this nutrient solution travels along a various intricate pipework through a system of valves to this bed, for example, right in front of us. And what the water does is it really fills up from below to a certain height, so it's just touching the surface of the gravel that you see here. This gravel layer is quite thick. It's about 10 centimeters in total throughout the bed itself. And this water will contain the nutrients, will help nourish the plants throughout the day, and it can be turned on and off as you like. Typically, for plants like these and in the climate that we're experiencing now, you're looking at filling and emptying at around 4 times, maybe 5 times a day, depending if it's a bit warmer. So we are in the middle of an experiment just to work out which growing media is best suited to this particular system that we have. And we are looking at some rockwool plugs here with some rocket. Now this is a very small sample of what ultimately will be a bed full of plants grown very densely. Obviously there's a trade-off between economics and the yield of implementing any such system indoors. And we're really hoping to find the fine balance between the right density of crop and the economic costs associated with that. Now we are looking in this facility to improve the environment, to extend the growing season that's typically limiting a lot of the growing productivity in the field by including LED lighting. We also have a circulatory fan system on either end of the polytunnel to make sure that there's a good mix of warm and cold air inside here to ensure a nice uniform and plant-friendly environment. We also have roll-up sides on either end of the polytunnel just to help enhance that ventilation, help allow it to draw air through the polytunnel to allow a good mix, because you don't want that humidity to allow the plants to get problems such as fungus and pests and diseases attached to that. We have a sophisticated dosing system that allows us to finely control the nutrients from either tank. So we are able to get a very good handle on what comes in to the plants, and through a bypass system analyze what water components come out. So that will allow us to work out what the plants take up and what the plants ultimately need. And that will help us fine-tune fertilizer recipes to ensure that we have the right fertilizer mix for the plant's exact needs.